Have you ever wondered what happens when a single absence rips through the very heart of the world's biggest music group? What if the smiling photos, the polished interviews, and the glossy magazine covers were nothing but a fragile disguise hiding the raw fractures that have been quietly growing beneath the surface? Could it be that Kim Taehyung's long-anticipated return from military service has done more harm than good, igniting a firestorm of jealousy, suspicion, and heartbreak that threatens to splinter BTS forever? These are the questions echoing across every corner of the internet. From the most devoted ARMY Twitter threads to the cold boardrooms of entertainment conglomerates who have bet billions on the unstoppable myth of BTS unity. Because as soon as the news broke that Taehyung had completed his enlistment, something shifted. An uneasy current of speculation began to crackle around every press release and public appearance. And if you believe the insiders who claim to have witnessed the tension firsthand, the most dangerous story in K-pop isn't about rival labels, canceled endorsements, or industry sabotage. It's about what happens when a single man becomes too influential to be contained. I ask this the moment when the legend of BTS begins to unravel under the weight of its own contradictions. At first glance, the homecoming was everything fans dreamed it would be. Taehyung emerged from his military posting in impeccable uniform, his expression composed, his presence radiating the same mix of grace and quiet power that had defined his career. Cameras flashed, fans screamed, hashtags trended worldwide. But even as the carefully choreographed reunion unfolded, sharp-eyed observers noticed something jarring in the expressions of the other members, something brittle, almost forced, that no amount of PR polish could erase. Could that fleeting awkwardness have been exhaustion? Relief? Or was it the first undeniable sign that 18 months without Taehyung had left wounds no one was ready to acknowledge? Behind the closed doors of HYB headquarters, insiders say the mood was far from celebratory. According to a staffer who has worked with BTS since their early days, the conversations turned tense the moment it became clear just how powerful Taehyung's individual brand had become in his absence. Compose Coffee, which made him their global ambassador, posted record-breaking profits. Fashion editors crowned him the most stylish man in Asia. Even casual social media posts of Taehyung in military uniform routinely eclipsed every other BTS update. How do you sustain the illusion of equal stardom when one member's influence threatens to eclipse the rest? Is it possible that the very success fans cheered so passionately was the same force quietly driving a wedge into the heart of the group? Observers point out that while BTS has always projected the image of a perfectly balanced collective, 7 men sharing triumphs and heartbreak as equals, reality has never been quite so simple. Power dynamics exist in every ensemble, but in K-pop, they are magnified under the lens of a billion-dollar industry determined to monetize every glance, every word, every breath. And when Taehyung stepped away from military service, something curious happened. Rather than fade from view, his legend grew bigger, more irresistible, almost unstoppable. Some fans celebrated it as proof of his unique magnetism. Others saw it as a warning sign that the center of gravity had shifted for good. So, what really happened during those months of separation? Did Taehyung's absence bring BTS closer together as they supported each other through enlistment and transition? Or did it set in motion a subtle realignment, one that quietly turned teammates into rivals? If you listen to the voices now emerging from the industry, the second theory is gaining ground. One high-level marketing executive who has worked on multiple BTS campaigns described an atmosphere of unspoken competition that grew more pronounced with every milestone Taehyung achieved solo. The team knew that his return would be a defining moment, the executive said. But no one wanted to admit that in his absence, the perception of BTS had already changed. He wasn't just 1/7 of the group anymore, he was a phenomenon in his own right. And that's the crux of the controversy exploding across fan communities. Did Taehyung's individual triumphs inadvertently sour resentment that no reunion concert or heartfelt speech can erase? If you've been following the flood of commentary online, you've probably seen the viral clips that many say prove the point. One shows the moment Taehyung greeted his bandmates after discharge. Millions of fans shared it as evidence of their unbreakable bond, but just as many slowed the footage down frame by frame, pointing out the hesitations, the quick glances, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes. Could these micro-expressions be nothing more than the fatigue of global superstardom? Or were they telling cracks in a unity that has long been taken for granted? For the fans who have built their identities around the belief that BTS is family, these questions cut deeper than any scandal before. After all, K-pop groups come and go, but BTS was supposed to be different, unbreakable, untouchable, eternally united. What does it mean if the group you believed in most is facing the same rifts as every other manufactured pop phenomenon? And yet, in the eyes of many analysts, it was always inevitable. No group can sustain perfect equilibrium when one member becomes an icon who transcends the brand itself. Even before enlistment, Taehyung's fashion endorsements, magazine covers, and solo projects were pulling him into a different orbit, one defined less by collective triumph and more by personal legend. Is it fair to blame him for that ascent? Or is it the natural consequence of a system that rewards individual charisma more than any shared narrative? These are the uncomfortable questions no one at HYB seems eager to address. Official statements insist that BTS remains stronger than ever, but the lack of concrete group plans has only fueled speculation that behind the scenes, the members are grappling with how to navigate a future in which Taehyung may be too big to share the spotlight. And the stakes are higher than ever. With billions invested in the next wave of BTS projects, even the hint of division could trigger a chain reaction, shaking investor confidence, undermining endorsements, and driving a wedge between the group and the fan base that made them legends. I ask that why. In recent interviews, Taehyung has chosen his words so carefully, praising his brothers while remaining conspicuously silent on any specifics about what comes next. Is he trying to protect them? Or is he simply acknowledging that a fracture has already occurred? And if that fracture is real, what will it mean for the millions who have built their dreams around the idea of BTS as one inseparable unit? Because the truth is as simple as it is devastating. No matter how hard you believe in the fantasy, the reality of fame has a way of corroding even the strongest bonds. I ask this the beginning of the end. Or is it merely the dawn of a new era? One in which Taehyung finally claims the solo crown. Many say he was destined to wear, and if he does, will BTS survive the fallout? If you think this is just another round of fan speculation, you haven't been paying attention to the ripple effect of Taehyung's return. Because while the headlines have been dominated by record-breaking streams, glowing fashion editorials, and triumphant endorsement deals, there is another story playing out in hushed conversations, encrypted chats, and carefully phrased leaks. One that suggests the group's unity has never been more precarious. Ask yourself, why did Compose Coffee choose to launch their most ambitious campaign just days after Taehyung's military discharge? Was it a coincidence? Or was it a calculated move to capitalize on a cultural moment when the world's eyes were fixed squarely on him? And what does it say about BTS's internal dynamic that this single partnership generated more headlines than any group activity since enlistment began? The questions don't end there. Industry insiders point out that in the months before Taehyung's return, HYB quietly ramped up preparations for solo projects, branding exercises that some say were designed not to showcase the group, but to position each member as a standalone property. Did the company anticipate that fans would start choosing sides? Or did they fear that Taehyung's star would become so blinding that no collective comeback could compete with it? And while it's easy to dismiss these theories as the fevered imaginings of an overstimulated fandom, the evidence is mounting that something fundamental has shifted. Consider the timing of Pop Magazine's decision to reissue their September 2023 feature on Taehyung, anointing him the most fashionable man in Asia, at the exact moment BTS was preparing a new group project. Insiders at the publication insist it was nothing more than a celebration of his influence. But behind closed doors, the move sparked unease among PR teams tasked with promoting the group as a unit. One veteran publicist described the mood in blunt terms. It's like trying to launch a movie when everyone only wants to talk about the lead actor's next project. You can't blame Taehyung for that, he's magnetic. But if you think it hasn't caused friction, you're kidding yourself. The friction has been palpable in ways that even the most devoted fans can't ignore. During a recent broadcast meant to showcase the members' camaraderie, subtle tells betrayed the strain behind the scripted laughter. The split-second pauses before each compliment, The way certain glances darted away instead of holding steady, the faint stiffness in group hugs that used to feel effortless. These were the clues that made millions of viewers wonder, are they still a family, or has something irreparable taken root? For a generation of fans who built their adolescence, and sometimes their entire identities, around BTS's narrative of unbreakable solidarity, these questions are nothing short of devastating. Because if the group's unity is an illusion, what else has been a performance? The reality is this: in K-pop, nothing is accidental. Every interview, every appearance, every word is filtered through layers of strategy and approval, which is why the cracks now showing in real time feel so significant. If a billion-dollar industry can no longer convincingly hide the discomfort, how deep must the rupture truly be? It is tempting to romanticize Taehyung's meteoric rise as a simple story of individual brilliance. After all, who can deny that he has an otherworldly charisma that transcends genre and geography? But in the context of BTS, a group that built its legend on the idea that 7 voices are stronger together, his ascent has become a paradox. His success is their success, and yet it is also the force that threatens to swallow them whole. Is it any wonder that fans are split between exultation and dread? On one hand, there is pride that one of their own has conquered industries that once scoffed at K-pop as a passing trend. On the other, there is fear that Taehyung is outgrowing the group, that the very qualities that make him iconic are the same qualities that could tear everything apart, and no one seems ready to answer the most painful question of all. If he is to choose between his own destiny and the collective identity of BTS, which path will he take? Those who know him best describe Taehyung as fiercely loyal, a man who treasures the bonds he formed long before the stadiums, the luxury contracts, and the magazine covers. But they also acknowledge that he is ambitious, restless, and unwilling to settle for anything less than the full expression of his potential. Is it possible that these two instincts, loyalty and ambition, are finally colliding in a way that will force an impossible decision? For HYB, the stakes could hardly be higher. The company has spent years positioning BTS as more than a group. It is an ecosystem, a cultural force, a proof of concept that K-pop can dominate every corner of the global entertainment economy. If Taehyung's gravitational pull becomes too strong, it risks destabilizing that ecosystem in ways no one can fully predict. Already, competitors are circling. Labels that once feared BTS's unified front see opportunity in the rumors of internal friction. Industry executives are quietly laying plans to recruit disillusioned fans, to court disaffected sponsors, to sow further doubt. Because in the high-stakes world of Korean entertainment, nothing is more valuable than the perception of vulnerability.